The pyramids of Egypt are not the only ones. We are about to journey across continents to uncover 25 ancient pyramids that will permanently change how you see these iconic monuments. You will gain a new understanding of human history, one that proves our ancestors' drive to build towards the heavens was a shared global phenomenon. From a pyramid buried by a volcano in Mexico to a mysterious structure in Indonesia that could be over 20,000 years old, these sites hold stories that rival any legend. How did cultures separated by vast oceans and thousands of years all arrive at this same breathtaking shape? By the end of our exploration, you will see the ancient world as a tapestry of interconnected ambition and mystery. What forgotten civilization do you think holds the most surprising secret? To understand just how widespread this pyramid-building impulse was, we must begin with a monument that defies all expectations. In the shadow of a beautiful colonial church in Puebla, Mexico, rests a gentle, grass-covered hill. This unassuming landmark is not a hill at all. It is the Great Pyramid of Cholula, and by sheer volume, it is the largest pyramid ever constructed on Earth. Its base covers an area nearly 4 times that of the Great Pyramid of Giza, a colossal footprint that speaks to a millennia-long obsession. This was not a project of a single ruler, but a living, breathing sacred site. Imagine a sacred onion, built layer upon layer over the course of 1,000 years. Starting around 200 years before the Common Era, successive cultures, the Olmecs, the Toltecs, and finally the Aztecs, each came to this spot and built their own temple over the ruins of the last. They did not destroy what came before, but rather encased it, adding a new shell of adobe brick and earth. This process created a staggering archaeological puzzle, a single massive structure containing at least 6 distinct pyramids stacked inside one another, each representing a different chapter in Mesoamerican history. Its original purpose was as a temple to Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent god of wind and wisdom. Pilgrims would have climbed its vast staircases, past brightly painted murals, to reach the summit where the spiritual and earthly worlds met. Then, in the 16th century, Spanish conquistadors arrived. In a powerful act of symbolic conquest, they did not tear it down. Instead, they built the Church of Our Lady of the Remedies directly on its flattened peak. The ancient temple to Quetzalcoatl was literally buried beneath a new faith, its true nature hidden for centuries under soil and grass. Today, visitors walk through miles of tunnels excavated into the pyramid's heart, a labyrinth that reveals its layered history, while above, the church's white towers stand as a testament to a complex and layered past. This disguised giant is our first clue that the story of pyramids is one of endurance, transformation, and secrets hiding in plain sight. The sheer ambition of Cholula's hidden giant finds a different, more starkly imposing expression just a short journey north. Here, in the high desert valley, lies the silent, monumental city of Teotihuacan. Its very name, given by the later Aztecs, means the place where the gods were created. Walking the Avenue of the Dead, a central thoroughfare flanked by the ruins of temples and palaces, your eyes are drawn inexorably to one structure. The Pyramid of the Sun dominates the landscape, a colossal geometric mountain of stone and earth. Built around 200 years into the Common Era, it is one of the largest structures of its kind in the Americas, a testament to a civilization that mastered urban planning, engineering, and astronomy on a breathtaking scale. Its orientation is not random. The pyramid's western facade aligns precisely with the setting sun on specific days, suggesting it functioned as a massive solar calendar and a potent symbol of cosmic order. But the true mysteries of this pyramid may lie not in its summit, but deep within its foundations. In the 1970s, archaeologists made a startling discovery beneath the pyramid's center. A natural cave system modified by human hands into a sacred tunnel leading to a chamber shaped like a 4-leaf clover. This subterranean space, likely used for rituals long before the pyramid was built above it, hints that the entire monument was an axis mundi, a sacred conduit connecting the underworld, the earthly realm, and the heavens. This profound spiritual purpose is underscored by the greatest enigma of Teotihuacan itself. This was a metropolis that, at its peak, housed over 100,000 people, influencing art and architecture across Mesoamerica. Yet we do not know what its inhabitants called their city, who ruled it, or even what language they spoke. No royal tombs have been definitively found, and its writing, if it existed, remains undeciphered. It was a city seemingly governed by collective ideology rather than a single king's ego. Theories suggest the Pyramid of the Sun was the heart of rituals, pleading for the sun's daily rebirth and for life-giving water in the arid valley. Even today, many visitors speak of a palpable, almost electric energy resonating from the ancient stones, a feeling of standing at the very center of a forgotten world's spiritual universe. This silent city and its central pyramid stand as a powerful reminder that some of humanity's greatest achievements were orchestrated by voices history has chosen not to name. While the Pyramid of the Sun commands the skyline, its companion at the northern terminus of the Avenue of the Dead holds a quieter, more profound power. The Pyramid of the Moon is not merely another structure. It is the anchor point of the entire sacred city. Its design is a masterpiece of intentional illusion and cosmic alignment. Unlike the Sun Pyramid's steep, angular sides, the Moon Pyramid features a series of tiered platforms that create a more gradual, elegant ascent. This was not an accident of architecture. From the central plaza at its base, the pyramid's silhouette perfectly frames and mirrors the shape of the distant, sacred mountain Cerro Gordo, which looms directly behind it. The builders did not just construct a pyramid, they seamlessly blended their creation into the eternal landscape, making the man-made and the natural appear as one continuous sacred form. This connection to the earth and the mountains was deeply tied to its spiritual purpose. Archaeologists believe this pyramid was dedicated to the great goddess of Teotihuacan, a powerful deity associated with fertility, the earth, and, most importantly, water. In this arid valley, water was not just a resource, it was divinity itself. The mountain Cerro Gordo was seen as a great vessel of terrestrial water, and by mirroring its form, the pyramid became a conduit to channel that life-giving force into the city. The discoveries within its chambers confirm this sacred role. Excavations have revealed elaborate sacrificial offerings buried deep within its core. These were not simple tokens, but complex, symbolic deposits. Archaeologists have found the skeletons of sacrificial animals, like pumas and wolves, along with obsidian blades, greenstone figurines, and vast quantities of precious grave goods. One of the most striking finds was a burial of a high-ranking individual, surrounded by a trove of jade and shell ornaments, their body arranged in a position of reverence, suggesting they were an offering to the goddess, or perhaps a priestly guardian. The pyramid's placement completes the city's grand spiritual axis. Standing in the plaza before the Pyramid of the Moon, you look directly down the Avenue of the Dead, with the massive bulk of the Pyramid of the Sun rising to your right. This creates a powerful, triangular relationship between the celestial sun, the earthly moon and water, and the sacred mountain of the earth's bounty. It was a landscape engineered for ritual, where every procession, every ceremony reinforced the connection between the people and the forces that sustained them. Where the Sun Pyramid speaks of cosmic power, the Moon Pyramid whispers of earthly sustenance, of the deep, nurturing mysteries held within the soil and stone. This profound connection between architecture and the earth finds its ultimate expression in the heart of the Yucatan jungle. Rising from the flat limestone plain, El Castillo at Chichen Itza is more than a pyramid. It is a colossal stone clock, a celestial observatory, and a living myth carved from rock. Built by the Maya civilization over 1,000 years ago, this iconic four-sided structure, also known as the Temple of Kukulkan, is a monument to a breathtaking fusion of art, science, and spirituality. Its precision is its power. Each of its 4 stairways has 91 steps. When you add the single step of the temple platform at the top, you arrive at a total of 365, one for each day of the solar year. The pyramid itself is composed of 9 terraced levels, which, when bisected by the central staircase, create 18 sections, mirroring the 18 months of the Maya calendar. This was not decoration, it was a physical, climbable representation of time itself. But the true magic reveals itself only on 2 specific days each year, during the spring and autumn equinoxes. As the sun sets, a play of light and shadow unfolds across the northern staircase. The corner edges of the terraces cast a series of triangular shadows onto the balustrade, creating the undulating, diamond-backed body of a massive serpent. This shadowy form slithers down the pyramid until it connects with a stone serpent head carved at the base. For a few mesmerizing minutes, the great feathered serpent god Kukulkan appears to descend from the heavens to the earth, a phenomenon that still draws thousands of witnesses. This was no happy accident. It is the result of meticulous astronomical alignment and architectural genius, a public demonstration of the Maya's divine command over the cosmos. The pyramid's alignments extend beyond the sun. Its corners are precisely oriented to the cardinal directions, and researchers have found that its main axis points directly toward the sacred cenote, a massive natural sinkhole where offerings to the rain god Chek were made. This creates a sacred axis linking the temple, the life-giving water source, and the path of the celestial serpent. The mysteries, however, go deeper than its facade. In the 1930s, archaeologists discovered a startling secret within. Using non-invasive techniques, they confirmed the existence of a smaller, older pyramid completely encased within the visible structure. This inner pyramid, likely built centuries earlier, suggests that El Castillo, much like the Great Pyramid of Cholula, was a sacred site built in layers, each generation honoring and enveloping the spiritual work of the last. The wonders of this place are not only visual. Stand at the base of the grand staircase and clap your hands once. The sound does not echo normally. Instead, it returns as a distinct, high-pitched chirp, eerily similar to the call of the sacred Quetzal bird, a creature deeply associated with the feathered serpent deity. This acoustic phenomenon, likely an intentional design feature created by the precise spacing of the steps, would have transformed ritual chants and processions into a chorus of divine bird calls, blurring the line between the human and the spiritual realms. El Castillo stands as a testament to a civilization that did not merely watch the sky, but wove its movements into the very stone of their world, creating a monument where time, sound, and light all conspire to bring a god to life. The serpent's descent at Chichen Itza is a masterpiece of light, but to find a true kingdom of pyramids, we must cross an ocean and journey to a different desert. Far from the jungles of Mesoamerica, in the arid sands of modern-day Sudan, lies a site that feels both familiar and utterly alien. The Nubian pyramids of Meroe rise from the earth not as solitary monuments, but as a vast, silent city of the dead. Over 200 of these steep-sided, narrow structures stand in clusters across the landscape, their sharp angles and dramatic profiles cutting against the endless Saharan sky. They are the royal necropolis of the Kingdom of Kush, a civilization that rivaled Egypt in power and ambition. Their design is a bold declaration of independence. While inspired by their northern neighbors, the Kushites made the form their own. These pyramids are strikingly taller and steeper for their base size, often featuring a distinctive offering chapel built directly against their eastern face. These chapels were once covered in intricate relief carvings depicting scenes of the ruling monarchs making offerings to gods like the lion-headed warrior god Apidamak, a uniquely Kushite deity. The story these pyramids tell is one of reversal and legacy. For a time, the kingdom of Kush was so powerful that its rulers, the Black Pharaohs, actually conquered and ruled ancient Egypt itself. They sat on the throne in Thebes, adopting Egyptian customs and religious practices. But when they were eventually pushed south back to their homeland, they did not abandon the pyramid. Instead, they refined it, creating a distinctly Nubian tradition of pyramid building that continued for nearly 1,000 years after the Egyptians had stopped constructing their own. Each pyramid here marks the tomb of a king or queen, a member of the elite who governed a wealthy empire built on iron production and trade. Unlike the largely solid masses of Giza, many of these pyramids contained burial chambers beneath them, now long since emptied by ancient robbers. Yet their exteriors still speak volumes. The surviving chapel carvings show a fascinating cultural fusion, blending Egyptian iconography with distinctly African styles, animals, and scripts. Today, Meroe is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, a place of profound historical importance that receives only a fraction of the visitors that flock to Giza. This relative solitude adds to its haunting beauty. Conservationists now work carefully to stabilize the structures against the relentless desert winds, preserving these slender stone sentinels. To stand among them at sunset, with the low light painting their red brick and sandstone a deep gold, is to witness the enduring legacy of a kingdom that refused to be forgotten, building its own path to eternity in the sweeping silence of the sand. The legacy of Meroe speaks of an empire that knew its own power, but to find the very cradle of pyramid building in the Americas, we must travel even further back in time to a wind-swept desert valley in Peru. Here, along the arid Supe River, lie the monumental ruins of Caral. This is not just another ancient city, it is a revelation. Dating back an astonishing 4,600 years before the present, Caral is recognized as the oldest known center of civilization in the Americas. Its construction began around the same time as the Great Pyramids of Giza were rising in Egypt, a staggering parallel development on the opposite side of the world. The heart of this ancient metropolis is not a single towering spire, but a complex of 6 large pyramidal structures, the most prominent being the Pyramide Mare, or the Great Pyramid. These are not the steep, stone-clad pyramids of later cultures, but what archaeologists call stepped platform mounds. They are massive terraced earthworks, faced with stone and clay, rising in a series of receding levels to a flat summit where ceremonies and rituals were performed. The Pyramide Mare stands 150 feet tall, with a base covering an area larger than 4 football fields. Its design was profoundly intentional. The central staircase aligns with the position of certain stars, and the entire complex is laid out with a sophistication that reveals a deep understanding of geometry, astronomy, and acoustics. What makes Caral so revolutionary is what it tells us about the birth of civilization itself. This was a complex, peaceful urban society that flourished for over 1,000 years without any evidence of warfare. Archaeologists have found no fortifications, no weapons, and no depictions of battle. Instead, they have uncovered evidence of a society built on trade, music, and collective ritual. They grew cotton, which they traded with coastal communities for vast quantities of fish, creating a thriving economic network. Within the city, they constructed sunken circular plazas, residential complexes for different social classes, and even what appears to be an early form of an amphitheater. The pyramids were the spiritual and social anchors of this system. Climbing the grand staircase of the Pyramid Maya was likely a ceremonial act, reserved for priests and leaders to perform rituals that they believed maintained cosmic and social order. The discovery of 32 flutes made from condor and pelican bones and 37 cornets made from deer and llama bones suggests music was central to these ceremonies, filling the plazas with sound that resonated off the massive earthen structures. To stand in the silence of Corral today is to witness the very moment a new world began to organize itself. It forces us to ask a fundamental question: what drives humanity to build such colossal monuments? At Corral, the answer seems to be not the ego of a king, but the collective will of a society seeking harmony with the universe, using architecture, music, and community to create a stable world from the raw desert, a full 2 millennia before the Inca would ever set foot in these mountains. The profound peace of Corral gives way to a landscape shaped by a far more turbulent power. Far to the north along Peru's arid coast, a different valley holds a staggering testament to endurance and catastrophe. This is Tucumé, a place known locally as the Valley of the Pyramids. Here, 26 massive adobe structures rise from the flat plain, their sun-baked brick walls eroded into soft, rounded forms that resemble natural hills. This is not a single city, but a sprawling ceremonial and administrative complex built by the Sican culture, also called the Lambayeque, a civilization that flourished here for centuries. Walking among these giants, you are surrounded by the ghosts of a people who mastered a hostile environment, only to be ultimately defeated by the very forces they sought to appease. The scale is almost incomprehensible. The largest of these monuments, Huacalaga, stretches for nearly 2/3 of a kilometer in length. It is a veritable mountain of mud brick, one of the largest adobe structures ever built in the ancient world. Imagine a platform so vast it could contain an entire village on its summit, a man-made plateau constructed entirely by hand, basket load by basket load, from the earth beneath it. The Sican people were not just master builders, they were unparalleled metallurgists. Their artisans produced some of the most sophisticated gold work the Americas had ever seen, creating magnificent ceremonial knives, intricate masks, and dazzling jewelry. Their iconic symbol was the Sican Lord, a deity often depicted with winged eyes and a distinctive crescent headdress, an image found stamped on countless gold artifacts. This wealth and artistry was rooted in a deep spiritual connection to their environment, a relationship memorialized in their founding myth. According to legend, their civilization was founded by a heroic figure named Namelap, who arrived from across the sea on a balsa raft with a vast retinue. He brought with him a green stone idol and established a lineage of rulers, promising his people prosperity. For generations, the Sican lords, seen as living representatives of the Sican deity, presided over rituals atop these very pyramids, mediating between the people and the gods of water, earth, and sky. Their entire society depended on the careful management of scarce water in the desert, making the favor of these gods a matter of survival. The history of Tucumé is written in layers, quite literally. After the Sican period, the site was occupied and expanded by the Chimu Empire, and later by the Inca, each adding their own architectural touches and temples to the existing structures. This makes Tucum a palimpsest of Andean civilization, a single location where you can trace the rise and fall of empires across the centuries. But the most dramatic chapter in its story is its end. Archaeological evidence points to a cataclysmic finale. Sometime in the past, a supercharged El Niño weather event unleashed torrential rains and catastrophic flooding on this desert region. The normally parched valleys became raging rivers, and the adobe bricks of the Great Pyramids began to melt and slump under the relentless downpour. To the people, this was not a simple natural disaster. It was a clear sign that the gods were enraged. The sacred contract between the rulers and the divine had been broken. In a final desperate act of ritual, the people of Tukume sealed the main temples. They conducted termination ceremonies, burning offerings and deliberately blocking doorways and staircases, effectively entombing their own sacred heart. Then they walked away, abandoning the Valley of the Pyramids to the elements. The floods eventually receded, the desert sun returned, but the people never came back to reclaim their capital in full. They left behind a silent, melting city, a monument to a civilization that reached for the heavens with earth and gold, only to be humbled by the overwhelming power of a changing sky. The silent, melted pyramids of Tukume are a testament to nature's fury. But just up, the coast lies a monument that speaks of a different kind of power, one of absolute human authority. Rising from the Moche Valley is the Huaca del Sol, the Pyramid of the Sun, a colossal adobe platform built by the Moche civilization over 1,500 years ago. To stand before its eroded facade today is to witness only a ghost of its former self. Yet that ghost is still immense. Originally, this was a titan. Scholars estimate it contained over 140 million sun-dried adobe bricks, a number so vast it defies comprehension. To put that in perspective, if you took every brick and laid them end to end, they would stretch for thousands of miles. The construction was an act of staggering social organization, likely involving entire communities fulfilling labor obligations to the Moche state. And each brick carries a secret. Many of them are stamped with distinctive makers' marks, symbols that may have identified the specific community or clan that produced them. This suggests the pyramid's construction was a grand, state-run project that mobilized the entire region, a physical manifestation of the Moche lord's ability to command labor and loyalty across their domain. The Huaca del Sol was not primarily a temple for the gods, but a fortress of earthly power. It functioned as the administrative and political heart of the Moche capital, a vast palace complex where the ruling elite lived, governed, and controlled the distribution of wealth. Its summit, now lost to time and looting, would have held grand halls, courtyards, and storerooms filled with tribute. From this high perch, the Moche lords looked out over their irrigated fields and the bustling city below, a constant reminder of the hierarchy that structured their world. But no ruler stands alone. Directly across the barren plain, facing the Huaca del Sol, stands its spiritual counterpart, the Huaca de la Luna, the Pyramid of the Moon. This contrast is deliberate and profound. Where the Sun Pyramid was a seat of political power, the Moon Pyramid was a sacred portal to the supernatural. It served as the primary religious center, a place of intense ritual where priests mediated between the people and the fierce Moche deities. The evidence for this is stunningly preserved. While the Sun Pyramid has been heavily damaged, the Moon Pyramid has revealed layer upon layer of vividly painted murals and friezes. Archaeologists have uncovered polychrome walls depicting the central Moche god, Ayapaek, a fanged deity associated with mountains, water, and sacrifice. They have found scenes of ritual combat, elaborate processions, and complex mythological narratives. Most strikingly, excavations have revealed multiple plazas where evidence of sacrificial ceremonies has been found, including the remains of warriors who may have been captured in ritual battles. This dual city layout created a perfect symbolic balance. The secular power of the sun and the sacred authority of the moon governing the lives of the Moche people in tandem. Yet, for all their sophistication and power, the Moche civilization ultimately faltered. The culprit, as in Tukume, appears to have been the climate. Geological and archaeological evidence points to a series of devastating mega El Niño events around the end of the 6th century. These would have brought catastrophic rains and flooding to the desert coast, wiping out the intricate canal systems that fed their agriculture, followed by severe drought. The Huaca del Sol itself bears the scars of this catastrophe. A large portion of its northern flank was deliberately gouged out by Spanish treasure seekers who diverted a river to wash away the adobe, but natural floods likely caused similar, if less intentional, damage centuries earlier. The social contract, maintained by the rulers in their sun pyramid and the priests in their moon pyramid, would have shattered when the gods, petitioned for so long in ceremony, seemed to turn their backs. The Great Pyramids still stand, but the civilization that built them gradually fragmented, leaving behind these two silent giants facing each other across an empty plain. One a monument to human ambition, the other to divine fear, both ultimately humbled by the unpredictable sky. The catastrophic floods that ended the Moche's reign show nature's power to erase. But one pyramid met an even more definitive end, sealed in fire and stone. Deep beneath the modern sprawl of Mexico City, in a neighborhood called Tlalpan, lies a monument that time and geology tried to destroy. This is the Pyramid of Cuicuilco, and it is unlike any other we have seen. Its base is not a square, but a perfect circle. Built by one of the earliest complex societies in the Valley of Mexico, possibly as early as 800 years before the Common Era, Cuicuilco is a tiered, round platform that resembles a massive, stepped wedding cake. This circular design is exceptionally rare in Mesoamerica, and its purpose remains a subject of debate. Some scholars suggest it was dedicated to the god of fire, a fitting patron given its fate, while others see its shape as a representation of the cosmos or a sacred mountain. What is undeniable is its profound connection to the landscape. The pyramid aligns directly with the now dormant volcano Zitla, a constant looming presence on the southern horizon. For centuries, the people of Cuicuilco thrived, farming the rich soil of the lake basin and building their circular temple as the center of a growing city. Then, sometime between 100 and 400 years in the Common Era, the earth roared to life. The Zitl volcano erupted with terrifying force, sending rivers of molten rock called lava cascading down its slopes. There was no escape. The slow, inexorable flow engulfed the entire city, burying homes, plazas, and the great circular pyramid itself under a layer of volcanic rock dozens of feet thick. In an instant, Cuicuilco became a Mexican Pompeii, a city frozen in a single catastrophic moment. The lava did not just destroy, it preserved. It encased the lower portions of the pyramid in a solid shell of basalt, sealing it for posterity. For over a millennium, the pyramid slept beneath this rocky blanket, forgotten. It was only in the early 20th century, as modern Mexico City expanded, that workers accidentally uncovered its strange curved walls. Today, the site is a surreal pocket of antiquity surrounded by urban chaos. You can walk around the excavated base, seeing where the dark, bubbly lava flow meets the ancient stonework. The upper tiers of the pyramid remain imprisoned within a giant, hardened lava mound called the Pedregal, a reminder of the eruption's sheer power. Cuicuilco's significance is twofold. First, it represents a cultural precursor. Before the rise of the mighty Teotihuacan, Cuicuilco was likely a dominant force in the valley. Its sudden erasure may have even created a power vacuum and a migration of people that contributed to Teotihuacan's explosive growth. Second, it stands as a stark geological monument. The pyramid is a stone stopwatch, its buried layers marking the exact moment a civilization ended. It forces us to confront a humbling truth. For all their grandeur, the ancient pyramids were not just symbols of human power, but also vulnerable witnesses to the infinitely greater forces of our planet. The volcano that sealed Cuicuilco speaks of a world shaped by fire, but on an island far out in the Atlantic, another civilization used that same volcanic rock to build towards the sun. On the eastern coast of Tenerife, in the Canary Islands, 6 strange structures rise in stark geometric contrast to the rugged landscape. These are the pyramids of Giza, a complex of rectangular stepped platforms built from dark, rough-hewn lava stones. For centuries, they were dismissed by locals and scholars alike as nothing more than paraterras, simple stone piles made by farmers, clearing fields for agriculture. They were seen as accidental monuments, the byproduct of practical labor. But a chance observation by a famous explorer would challenge that assumption entirely. The man was Thor Heyerdahl, the Norwegian adventurer renowned for his Kon-Tiki raft expedition, which proved ancient peoples could have crossed vast oceans. When Heyerdahl visited Guimar in the 1990s, he saw something others had overlooked: intention. The pyramids were not haphazard. Their stones were not field rubble, but carefully selected lava blocks, with their flat sides placed outward to create remarkably smooth, straight walls. They were built without mortar, yet their corners were precise, and their staircases, positioned on the western side of each structure, were clearly designed for ascent. Most compelling of all was their alignment. Heyerdahl and subsequent researchers noted that on the day of the summer solstice, if you stand on the platform of the main pyramid, you can watch the sun set directly behind the summit of the island's great volcanic peak, Mount Tide. Furthermore, the staircases faced the direction of the rising sun on the winter solstice. This double astronomical alignment was highly unlikely to be a coincidence of farm work. It suggested the Guanches, the indigenous Berber people of the Canaries who lived in isolation for over 1,000 years, had constructed these as ceremonial sites. The complex surrounding the pyramids adds to the mystery. Archaeologists found artificial caves, ritual platforms, and a large, leveled plaza area, all hinting at a space designed for communal gathering and worship. The Guanches, until their conquest by the Spanish in the 15th century, were a Neolithic culture with a complex social structure and a religion that venerated celestial bodies and mountain peaks. Building these pyramids to mark the solstices would have been a way to anchor their calendar, predict seasonal changes, and connect their rituals to the powerful cycles of the sun and the dominant presence of Mount Tide. Heyerdahl's controversial theory went a step further. He proposed that the pyramid's design, with its stepped profile and western staircases, showed a striking resemblance to similar structures in Mesoamerica and Mesopotamia. For him, Guimar was not an isolated oddity, but potential evidence of ancient transatlantic travel, a waypoint for pre-Columbian voyagers. While most mainstream archaeologists reject the direct contact theory, emphasizing the Guanches' profound isolation and independent development, the debate itself forces a crucial question. Why would cultures across the world, from the Canaries to Mexico to Mesopotamia, repeatedly arrive at the same architectural solution, the stepped pyramid, for connecting with the heavens? Whether the pyramids of Giza were purely a local invention or a faint echo of a wider, forgotten world, they stand as a powerful testament to a universal human impulse to build ordered, aligned monuments that make sense of our place under the vast turning sky. The circular pyramids of Giza ask a profound question about shared human impulses, but one structure in Europe provides a stunningly direct answer. In the heart of Rome, just steps from the ancient Protestant cemetery, stands a site that seems utterly misplaced. It is the Pyramid of Cestius, a sharp, elegant monument of pure Egyptian form, built not along the Nile, but beside the Tiber River. This is not a relic of the pharaohs, but the tomb of a wealthy Roman magistrate, Gaius Cestius, constructed around 12 years before the Common Era. Its existence is a physical snapshot of a specific cultural moment in history, a fashion statement carved in stone. The Roman Republic had just absorbed Egypt after the defeat of Cleopatra and Mark Antony. Everything Egyptian became the height of sophistication in Rome, a trend we now call Egyptomania. Wealthy Romans imported obelisks, decorated their villas with Nile-inspired mosaics, and even worshipped the goddess Isis. Gaius Cestius wanted his eternal resting place to reflect this modern, cosmopolitan taste. So he ordered the construction of a pyramid, and his builders executed it with typical Roman engineering precision. The core is not solid stone, but Roman concrete faced with brick, a testament to their innovative building techniques. This sturdy core was then clad in slabs of gleaming white Luni marble, giving it the smooth, luminous finish we associate with classical monuments. Its proportions are carefully studied, with a steeper angle than the Giza pyramids, showing that while the Romans admired Egyptian style, they interpreted it through their own aesthetic lens. For centuries, the pyramid stood as an isolated curiosity on the outskirts of the city. Then, in the 3rd century, as Rome felt increasing pressure from barbarian invasions, the Emperor Aurelian made a pragmatic decision. He ordered the construction of massive new defensive walls to encircle the city. The builders came to the Pyramid of Cestius, and instead of demolishing it, they simply incorporated it. The pyramid was built into the fabric of the Aurelian walls, its sharp point becoming a distinctive triangular bastion in the formidable fortifications. This act of reuse is why it survives in such remarkable condition today. While the marble cladding on the upper sections is gone, the structure itself is intact, protected for centuries because it was part of the city's vital defenses. It stands today as a quiet, powerful symbol of cultural fusion. It is not an Egyptian pyramid, but a Roman one. It speaks of an empire confident enough to absorb and repurpose the sacred symbols of a conquered civilization for personal prestige. The poet Percy Bysshe Shelley, who is buried nearby, called it a sublime and pyramidical heap. To stand before it is to witness a very human story of admiration, appropriation, and astonishing preservation, a piece of Egypt forever woven into the eternal city's stone skin. Rome's imported pyramid stands as a testament to a known historical moment. But in the rugged hills of Greece, similar structures whisper of a past with no clear story at all. Scattered across the ancient region of Argolis in the Peloponnese are a handful of rough, mysterious monuments that seem to defy classical Greek aesthetics. The best preserved among them are the so-called Pyramid of Hellinikon and the Pyramid of Ligurio. These are not the sleek marble temples of the Acropolis. They are squat, formidable fortresses of stone, built from massive, irregular blocks of local grey limestone fitted together without mortar, in a style called Cyclopean masonry. Their walls slope inward as they rise, creating a distinct pyramidal trunk, though their summits are flat, not pointed. To stand before them is to feel a deep, primitive antiquity, a sense of something far older than the age of Pericles. The central mystery is not their appearance, but their impossible age. For decades, the conventional dating placed them in the late 4th century, before the Common Era, a turbulent time following the death of Alexander the Great. This theory was supported by pottery fragments found nearby and ancient texts like that of the geographer Pausanias, who briefly mentioned a pyramid-shaped tomb in the area. They were thought to be small fortresses or military outposts built by a local warlord to control the strategic plains below. Yet this explanation always felt unsatisfactory. Their design is utterly alien to known Greek military architecture of that period, which favored square towers and precise geometry. In the 1990s, a scientific bombshell challenged everything. A team of researchers used a then novel technique called thermoluminescence, dating on crystals within the pyramid's mortar. The results were staggering. The mortar, they claimed, had last been exposed to fire around 2007, 100 years before the present, pushing the construction date back to the early Bronze Age, a full 1,000 years earlier than anyone had suspected. This date would place the pyramids in the shadowy world of pre-classical Greece, a time of mythic heroes like Perseus and Heracles, long before the rise of Athens or Sparta. The archaeological community erupted in debate. Critics questioned the sampling methods, while proponents saw it as proof of a forgotten chapter. If the dating is correct, what civilization built them? Were they watchtowers for a lost kingdom, tribal gathering places for initiations, or tombs for forgotten chieftains? Their strategic locations, with clear sight lines to the sea and surrounding valleys, support a defensive or signaling purpose. Their small, cramped interior chambers, accessible only by narrow passages, could suggest ritual spaces or treasuries. The truth is, no one knows. They stand in lonely fields, ignored by most tourist itineraries. They're rough, stones holding a secret that could rewrite the early history of Greek architecture. They are a reminder that sometimes the greatest mysteries are not found in exotic jungles, but in the very heartlands of the ancient world we thought we understood, waiting silently for their story to be told. The silent, rough-hewn stones of Greece leave us with a question of origins, but on a sun-drenched island in the Mediterranean, an answer seems to rise from the earth in a form so unexpected it feels like a dream. On the Italian island of Sardinia, far from the Nile or the Euphrates, stands Monte d'Accodi. It is not a pyramid of stone, but of earth and brick, a colossal trapezoidal platform with a sloping ramp leading to its summit. To look at it is to experience a profound sense of dislocation, for its design is not European. It is a ziggurat, a terraced temple tower straight from the heart of ancient Mesopotamia, somehow transplanted onto prehistoric Sardinian soil over 5,000 years ago. This is not a natural hill. It is a meticulously engineered sacred machine, the only monument of its kind in the entire Western Mediterranean. The structure we see today is actually two pyramids in one. The first, built by the Ozieri culture, around 4,000 years before the Common Era, was a broad, low platform of earth and small stones. Centuries later, a new wave of builders, perhaps inspired by their predecessors, completely encased this original altar in a larger, more imposing shell. They faced it with finely cut limestone blocks, creating the sharp, clean lines of the great ramp and the towering rectangular platform that survives today. Climbing that central ramp is a ritual in itself. It forces a slow, deliberate ascent, your eyes fixed on the empty sky above the flat summit. That vast, open space at the top was not for a temple building, but for the rituals themselves, a stage between earth and heaven. The entire complex surrounding the pyramid deepens its mystery. A large, smooth stone slab rests at the ramp's base, likely a sacrificial altar. Nearby, a single, towering menhir stands like a silent sentinel, and the landscape is dotted with dolmens, those classic Neolithic burial chambers. This creates a sacred geography where the pyramid was the central, dominating focus of a wider ritual landscape. Who were the builders? The Ozieri culture. They were a sophisticated Neolithic people known for their intricate pottery, carved stone idols, and underground tomb complexes called domus de Janas. But nothing in their other architecture prepares you for Monte d'Accodi. The discovery of vast quantities of red ochre at the site is a vital clue. This red mineral pigment was deeply symbolic across the prehistoric world, representing blood, life, and perhaps the sacred act of sacrifice. Evidence points to the practice of animal sacrifice on the summit, a ritual that would have been visible to the community gathered below, connecting the earthly realm with the divine through a solemn, smoky offering. The overwhelming question is one of influence. How did the concept of a Mesopotamian ziggurat arrive on this isolated island? Direct contact seems improbable, but the Mediterranean was a highway even in the Chalcolithic age. Theories suggest the idea may have traveled through indirect cultural diffusion, carried by seafaring traders or migrating groups from the eastern Mediterranean. Perhaps Sardinian chieftains or priests in contact with these travelers learned of the great temple mounds to the east and commissioned their own version, a powerful symbol to consolidate their authority and connect their people to a wider, more advanced world. Monte d'Accodi stands alone, a breathtaking anomaly. It is a testament to the astonishing reach of ideas in the ancient world. proving that even in prehistoric Europe, communities were not isolated. They were listening, learning, and when inspired, they could gather their people to move mountains of earth, building their own ladder to the gods in a shape borrowed from a distant, sun-baked land. But the ancient world's capacity for surprise is not yet exhausted. Far to the east, in the lush volcanic highlands of West Java, Indonesia, a site shrouded in mist and controversy, challenges our timeline of civilization itself. This is Gunung Padang, a name meaning mountain of enlightenment. To the casual eye, it appears as a series of grassy terraces ascending a steep hill, dotted with ancient columns of andesite stone. For over a century, it was catalogued as a fascinating megalithic site, perhaps 2,000 or 3,000 years old, a place where ancestors arranged these massive stones for rituals under the Javanese sky. But a team of Indonesian researchers, led by geologist Dr. Danny Hilman Natawijaja, proposed a theory so radical it sent shockwaves through the archaeological world. They argued that Gunung Padang is not a hill adorned with stones, but something far more profound. They believe the entire hill is not natural. It is, in their view, a colossal, man-made pyramid, its deepest layers buried under millennia of soil and vegetation. Their evidence comes from the ground beneath. Using sophisticated tools like ground-penetrating radar, electrical resistivity tomography, and seismic tomography, the team peered into the earth. What they claimed to see was a structured, layered interior. The data suggested the surface megaliths are merely the tip of an iceberg. Beneath them lies a second, much older layer of similar columnar rocks arranged in a matrix, and beneath that, yet another deeper chamber or void. Core drills brought up samples of what appeared to be man-worked stone from depths of up to 30 meters. The most contentious claim came from carbon dating of organic material found trapped in the mortar between these deep stones. The dates that came back were staggering, suggesting some parts of the structure could be from an era as distant as 22,000 to 27,000 years ago. That is a date deep in the last ice age, a time when mainstream archaeology tells us humans were hunter-gatherers, not builders of colossal, sophisticated monuments. If true, Gunung Padang would not just be the oldest pyramid on Earth, it would be the oldest known megalithic site by an immense margin, predating Stonehenge and the pyramids of Giza by more than 10,000 years. The academic reaction has been a firestorm of debate. Mainstream archaeologists and many geologists have raised serious, methodical objections. They argue the carbon-dated material could be from natural weathering processes or from soil that seeped into cracks over millennia, not from human-made mortar. They point out that the columnar andesite rock is naturally formed by volcanic cooling, and that what the research team interprets as arranged rooms and walls could be the result of natural geological forces like landslides and erosion. The critics maintain that, while the site is undoubtedly an important prehistoric megalithic complex, the evidence for it being a layered 20,000-year-old pyramid is speculative at best and severely flawed at worst. They caution against what they see as nationalist enthusiasm overtaking rigorous science. Yet, the controversy itself is significant. It forces us to confront the limits of our knowledge about the deep past. Could an advanced culture have risen in the rich, isolated ecosystems of Ice Age Southeast Asia, only to be erased by rising sea levels and the passage of millennia? The very possibility ignites the imagination. The local Sundanese people have long considered Gunung Padang a sacred place of their ancestors, a site of powerful energy. Whether it is a natural hill shaped by human hands over generations, or a deliberately buried pyramid from a forgotten age, its presence commands respect. The terraces climb toward the clouds, the ancient stones cool to the touch, and the debate rages on. What lies truly hidden beneath the mountain of enlightenment may be one of the last great secrets of the ancient world, waiting to either rewrite history or remind us of nature's incredible power to mimic the works of humankind. The swirling controversy of Gunung Padang forces us to question the very timeline of civilization, but another legend speaks of a pyramid so immense it could dwarf them all, hidden in plain sight on the opposite side of Asia. This is the story of the Great White Pyramid of Xi'an, a tale that begins not with archaeologists, but with pilots flying over China during the Second World War. Aviators, including United States Air Force pilot James Gorsman, reported seeing a gigantic, jewel-topped white structure gleaming in the sun among the Qinling Mountains southwest of Xi'an. Their accounts described a pyramid of staggering proportions, far larger than those at Giza, crafted from a dazzling white material. These reports, filed away as wartime curiosities, were later amplified by researchers like New Zealand's Bruce Cathy, who wove them into theories of global energy grids and ancient advanced civilizations. The legend grew, fueled by a tantalizing question: could China, with its millennia of history, be home to a pyramid that rewrites the architectural history of the ancient world? The truth, as it so often is both more grounded and in its own way, just as fascinating. China is indeed a land of pyramids, dozens of them. They are not the angular stone peaks of Egypt, but massive, flat-topped earthen mounds, some rising over 200 feet high, cloaked in trees and grass. These are the ancient tombs of Chinese emperors, most notably from the Han and Tang dynasties. The most famous is the mausoleum of the first Qin emperor, the vast, unexcavated burial complex guarded by the terracotta army. The tomb itself lies beneath a colossal, man-made hill, a pyramid in all but name. The Han dynasty rulers who followed adopted and formalized this practice. Their tombs, like the Maoling mausoleum of Emperor Wu, are immense trapezoidal earthworks, often built with sacred precision along a north-south axis, with surrounding burial pits for concubines, officials, and priceless treasures. These pyramids were statements of cosmic authority, designed as microcosms of the empire and the universe, where the emperor would rule in the afterlife. So where does the legendary White Pyramid fit in? Many scholars believe the pilot's sightings likely correspond to the Maoling Mausoleum or another great Han tomb. The white material could have been the limestone facing that once covered some of these mounds, or perhaps even the brilliant local loess soil catching the light at a certain angle. The jewel at the peak might have been a temple structure that has long since crumbled. The legend persists because of a potent mix: genuine awe at the scale of China's ancient tombs, combined with the historical secrecy that has long surrounded them. For much of the 20th century, many of these imperial mounds were located in sensitive military or agricultural zones, off limits to foreigners and often unexplored even by Chinese archaeologists. This state-enforced mystery became fertile ground for speculation. Today, while more accessible, the core of these pyramids remains largely unexcavated, protected by both preservation philosophy and the sheer technical challenge and cost of digging into such massive, waterlogged structures. The real wonder, then, is not a single mythical white giant, but a hidden landscape of them. These quiet, green hills dotting the countryside around ancient capitals are the forgotten pyramids of the East. They hold within them not just the bones of emperors, but entire underground palaces, libraries of bamboo slips, and artifacts that could illuminate golden ages of Chinese history. The legend of the White Pyramid, whether born from a trick of the light or a moment of aerial wonder, serves a vital purpose. It reminds us that for all we have mapped and catalogued, China's ancient landscape still holds its breath, keeping its greatest treasures buried under layers of earth, time, and enduring silence. The silent green pyramids of China are monuments to imperial power, But beneath the densest jungle on Earth, an even more startling truth was waiting to be revealed. For centuries, the Amazon rainforest was viewed by outsiders as a green desert, a pristine wilderness incapable of supporting large, complex societies. The towering canopy and thick undergrowth seemed to hide nothing but nature's raw, untamed heart. That perception has been utterly shattered by a revolutionary technology, LiDAR, which stands for Light Detection and Ranging. Mounted on aircraft, this system fires millions of laser pulses through the forest canopy, stripping away the vegetation digitally to create a detailed, three-dimensional map of the ground below. What it has uncovered is nothing short of an archaeological revolution. Across vast swaths of Bolivia and Brazil, the jungle floor is not wild at all. It is an engineered landscape, a colossal geometric puzzle of human design. The LiDAR maps reveal sprawling networks of straight causeways stretching for miles, concentric rings of raised earth, enormous fish farms, and most strikingly, clusters of massive, flat-topped pyramidal mounds. These are not the sharp stone peaks of Giza, but monumental earthen platforms, some rising over 60 feet high, arranged around vast plazas. This was not a scattered village society. This was urbanism on a scale no one had believed possible in the Amazon. One of the most significant discoveries centers on the Casarabe culture in the Llanos de Mojos region of Bolivia, which flourished from around 500 to 1400 years in the Common Era. The LiDAR images show two major settlement sites, now called Cotoca and Landiva, that defy previous understanding. Each site is organized around a central ceremonial core featuring huge platform mounds, pyramids by any other name, accessed by monumental ramps. These cores are surrounded by concentric rings of defensive moats and ramparts, and connected to a vast hinterland of smaller settlements, temples, and farms by a radiating web of straight causeways that run for up to 10 miles without deviation. The entire system covers hundreds of square miles, a carefully planned, interconnected metropolis built entirely from Earth in a seasonally flooded savanna. The implications are profound. The Casarabe and other Amazonian societies were not simple tribes struggling against nature. They were sophisticated landscape engineers who transformed their environment on a staggering scale. To thrive in the floodplains, they built those elevated pyramids and platforms to keep their homes and temples dry. They created complex water management systems with canals and reservoirs to control water for agriculture and aquaculture. The causeways likely served as both transportation routes and ceremonial pathways, connecting the spiritual power of the central pyramids to the wider community. This was a civilization that mastered its challenging world, creating a sustainable urban network that lasted for centuries. These discoveries force a complete rewrite of Amazonian history. The rainforest we see today is not a virgin wilderness, but in many ways a garden. It is the product of millennia of human management, where ancient peoples enriched the soil with a charcoal-based compost called terra preta, or dark earth, and cultivated forests of useful trees. The colossal pyramids and platforms hidden beneath the roots and vines are the ultimate testament to that forgotten legacy. They stand as a humbling reminder that some of humanity's greatest architectural achievements were not built from stone, but shaped patiently from the living earth itself, their builders leaving behind a green, tangled monument that only the eyes of technology could finally see. While the Amazon reveals pyramids hidden by jungle, a very different kind of mystery is carved into the bedrock of an Italian forest. In the wooded hills north of Rome, within the surreal landscape of the sacred grove of Bomarzo, a sheer cliff face has been transformed. This is the so-called Pyramid of Bomarzo, not a built structure, but a monumental altar hewn directly from the living rock. Its form is unmistakable. A series of steep, symmetrical steps ascend the natural stone, culminating in a flat, ceremonial platform at the top. A deep, straight channel is carved diagonally across this summit, draining down the front steps, a feature that speaks to a singular, visceral purpose. This groove was designed to carry a liquid, whether sacred water, wine, or something more ominous, from the altar down the face of the stone in a dramatic, visible flow. The immediate impulse is to see this as a relic of a deeply ancient people, perhaps the mysterious Etruscans who inhabited these hills long before the Romans. Its primal, elemental form feels like it belongs to the world of prehistoric ritual, a place of sacrifice to forgotten gods of the earth and forest. Yet, the pyramid sits within one of the Renaissance world's most bizarre creations. The sacred grove, also called the Park of Monsters, was commissioned in the 16th century by Prince Pier Francesco Orsini. It is a Mannerist fantasy garden, filled with colossal and terrifying sculptures carved from stone. A gaping ogre's mouth, a giant tearing a man in half, a leaning house, and mythical beasts. The park was designed as a place of wonder, shock, and philosophical reflection, a deliberate departure from the harmonious Renaissance gardens of the time. This context casts the pyramid's origins into profound doubt. Was it a genuine ancient site that Orsini discovered and incorporated into his nightmarish theme park, adding to its aura of antique mystery? Or is the entire thing the brilliant 16th century fabrication, a piece of staged archaeology designed to fool and fascinate visitors with a false sense of deep time? Scholars remain divided. Some point to the precision of the carving and its integration with the cliff as evidence of an older, functional ritual space. Others argue that the pyramid's dramatic aesthetic fits perfectly with the park's other theatrical elements. It is another monster, albeit an architectural one, created to evoke the feeling of antiquity without being ancient itself. The channel at the top could be a direct reference to classical and Etruscan sacrificial altars, a detail studied and replicated by a learned nobleman. To stand before it today is to experience this ambiguity firsthand. You touch stone that is undoubtedly ancient, but the intention behind its shaping is a riddle. It forces you to question the very nature of authenticity. Does it matter if the altar is 2,000 or 500 years old? In this enchanted forest where stone giants loom among the trees, the pyramid serves its purpose perfectly. It evokes a chill of the primordial, a tangible connection to ritual and mystery, whether that connection is real or ingeniously imagined. It stands as a testament to the Renaissance fascination with the ancient past, and to the timeless human desire to leave a mark on stone that whispers of secrets, regardless of when the chisel actually struck. That startling claim from the 1990s still echoes through the halls of archaeology. The Pyramid of Hellinikon, a rough and lonely structure in the Greek countryside, became the center of a firestorm when a scientific paper announced it was not a late classical oddity, but a relic from the dawn of the Bronze Age. The evidence came from a then novel technique called thermoluminescence dating, applied not to the stones themselves, but to the tiny crystals within the ancient mortar binding them. The principle is fascinating. Minerals like quartz accumulate natural radiation damage over time. When they are heated, say, in a fire used to make mortar, that damage is reset to zero. From that moment, the clock starts ticking again as they absorb new radiation from their environment. By measuring the amount of accumulated damage in a lab, scientists can estimate when that last heating event occurred. The team, led by Professor Ioannis Liritsis, took samples from the mortar at Hellinikon. The results they published were nothing short of revolutionary. The crystals suggested the mortar was last fired around 3,000 years before the Common Era. That is a date of 2,700 years before the present, pushing the pyramid's construction back to a time when the Great Pyramids of Giza were still a millennium in the future. If correct, this single date transforms Hellinikon from a curious footnote into a seismic discovery. It implies a pyramid-building culture was active in the Aegean world contemporaneously with the earliest dynasties of Egypt and the monumental temples of Malta. Suddenly, the rough stones of Argolis become a potential bridge across the Mediterranean, hinting at a web of cultural exchange or parallel development in the 3rd millennium BC that historians never dreamed of. The implications are staggering. Who were these builders? Were they part of the early Helladic people, the shadowy precursors to the Mycenaeans? Could these structures be the tangible, long-lost outposts of a sophisticated seafaring network that connected the eastern and western Mediterranean in an age we thought was defined by isolation? The pyramid's strategic location, with commanding views over the Argolic plain towards the coast, fits perfectly with this older narrative. It would have been a formidable watchtower and a symbol of power for a local chieftain in an era of emerging kingdoms, a statement in stone that predates the legends of Agamemnon and Achilles by over 1,000 years. Yet, for every visionary claim, there is rigorous scrutiny. The academic community did not embrace this finding. It divided over it. Critics launched a sustained challenge to the methodology. They questioned whether the sampled mortar was truly representative of the pyramid's construction phase, or if it could have come from a later repair, or even from a natural fire that scorched the site long after it was built. They pointed out that thermoluminescence dating of mortar is notoriously tricky, as it requires the sample to have been heated to a very high, consistent temperature during its creation, a condition not always met in ancient building practices. Furthermore, the pottery and other artifacts found in association with the structure seem to consistently point to a much later date, around the 4th century BC. The debate reached a stalemate, a classic clash between hard science and traditional archaeology. Without further excavation or new corroborating evidence from other sites, Hellinikon remains an enigma trapped between two timelines. This stalemate itself is a profound part of the story. It makes the pyramid one of the most tantalizing unsolved puzzles in the Mediterranean. It represents the thrilling yet frustrating edge of discovery, where a single piece of evidence can threaten to overturn our understanding, but where the weight of established knowledge demands extraordinary proof. To visit Hellinikon today is to stand before a silent argument. You see the massive, primitive Cyclopean blocks, feeling their visceral age. You can understand why someone might look at them and see a deep Bronze Age past. Yet you also see the clean lines of its pyramidal trunk, a form that feels deliberate and advanced. Is it a forgotten first chapter of Greek monumental architecture, or simply a very well-built, very mysterious later fortress? Until the stones themselves give up more of their secrets, this lonely sentinel in the Greek hills holds its truth close, a permanent question mark in the story of human ambition. The secrets of El Castillo run far deeper than its famous Serpent of Light. For decades, archaeologists theorized that this masterpiece, like the Great Pyramid of Cholula, might contain an older structure within its heart. Proving it, however, was a delicate challenge. You could not simply tear apart a World Heritage Site. The breakthrough came with non-invasive technology. Using electrical resistivity tomography, a method that sends currents into the ground to map differences in density, researchers peered through the stone. The images they received were astonishing. There, encased within the visible pyramid, was the clear outline of another, complete with its own staircase and temple platform. This inner pyramid was built centuries earlier, likely by the Maya during the city's earlier, purer phase before Toltec influences arrived. But the story did not end there. Further investigation hinted at the ghost of a third structure, even smaller and more ancient, buried at the very core. This innermost form may date to the original founding of the sacred site, a small temple that began the entire 1,000-year journey of architectural devotion. El Castillo is not a single monument, but a geological and spiritual timeline, a series of Russian dolls in stone where each generation honored the sacred work of the last by building a new shell around it. This layering of history points to a location of immense and enduring power. Why was this exact spot so sacred for over a millennium? A breathtaking recent discovery provides the answer, connecting the pyramid not just to the sky, but to the world below. Using sophisticated seismic imaging, a team of scientists made a find that sent chills through the archaeological community. Directly beneath El Castillo, at a depth of about 20 meters, lies a water-filled cavern, a cenote. This is not just any sinkhole. It is a massive subterranean river, a portal to the Maya underworld, known as Xibalba. For the Maya, cenotes were not merely water sources. They were sacred openings to the realm of the gods and the dead, places of ritual, sacrifice, and communication with the deities of rain and fertility, like Chak. The positioning of El Castillo directly over this hidden cenote was a deliberate, profound act of cosmic engineering. It transformed the pyramid into the ultimate axis mundi, a world tree made of stone. Its summit reached for the heavens, its base stood upon the earthly realm, and its foundations plunged directly into the watery underworld. Every ritual performed on its summit, every descent of Kukulkan down its staircase, was amplified by this hidden geography. The pyramid became a conduit, a spiritual amplifier, channeling energy between all three layers of the cosmos. This connection to water also solved a practical mystery of survival. Chichen Itza means at the mouth of the well of the Itza, named for the grand sacred cenote to the north where offerings were cast. The newly discovered cenote beneath El Castillo suggests the entire city was carefully planned around a network of these subterranean water sources, with the greatest pyramid anchoring the most powerful one. So when the equinox sun sets and the shadow serpent slithers down to earth, it is not just meeting a stone head. It is completing a circuit, descending from the sky to touch a point that connects, through layers of history and limestone, to the dark, sacred waters of creation itself. The legacy of Kush was not built by kings alone. Among the slender pyramids of Meroe, some of the most powerful monuments belong to a line of formidable women known as the Candaces. These were not merely royal consorts. They were warrior queens who ruled in their own right, leading armies, negotiating with empires, and commissioning their own eternal homes. The chapel reliefs on their pyramids show these monarchs in poses of absolute authority, often depicted larger than life, seizing enemies by the hair and raising a sword or axe in the classic smiting pose traditionally reserved for male pharaohs. This imagery was a bold declaration. It told every visitor and every future generation that in Kush, a queen's power was divine, martial, and unquestionable. One Candace, Amanirenas, is legendary for leading her armies against Roman Egypt, fighting the legions of Augustus to a stalemate and securing a favorable peace treaty. Her pyramid, and those of her successors like Amanisaketo, stand as stone testaments to an era when these women shaped the destiny of an empire. The walls of their funerary chapels are canvases of a lost language. Covering the interiors are intricate inscriptions, carved in the unique Meroitic script. This writing system is one of the great lingering puzzles of archaeology. It is elegant and complex, with an alphabet of 23 signs, but it remains only partially deciphered. We can sound out the words, we can read the phonetic values, but for the most part, we cannot understand their meaning. It is like listening to a beautiful song in a language you do not speak. The melody is clear, but the story is just out of reach. These inscriptions likely record the names, titles, and prayers of the buried queens and kings, their triumphs, and their pleas to the gods. To stand before them is to feel the presence of a rich historical record, a library in stone, whose full chapters we are still struggling to read. This script is a final, defiant signature of Kushite culture, a language that flourished even as the empire itself began to fade. For centuries after the fall of Meroe, the pyramids slept, known only to local communities and slowly being buried by the Saharan sands. Their modern rediscovery is a tale of both wonder and profound loss. In the early 1800s, the French explorer Frédéric Cailliau, traveling with a mineralogical expedition, came upon the field of pyramids. He was awestruck, describing them as a forest of pyramids in the desert. His detailed drawings and descriptions introduced Meroe to the European world, sparking a wave of fascination. Unfortunately, that fascination soon took a destructive turn. What followed was an era of crude pyramid hunting. Treasure seekers, believing the pyramids held the gold of the Black Pharaohs, descended upon the site. The most notorious was an Italian mercenary and treasure hunter named Giuseppe Ferlini. In the 1830s, driven by tales of riches, he embarked on a campaign of devastation. Convinced the treasure was hidden at the summits, Ferlini and his workers used dynamite and brute force to blast the tops off over 40 pyramids. He did find a hoard of exquisite jewelry in one pyramid, that of Queen Amenemhat, which he sold to European museums. But for every cache he found, dozens of monuments were mutilated for nothing, their structural integrity ruined and their architectural beauty forever scarred. The jagged, broken tops you see on so many pyramids at Meroe today are not the work of time, but of Ferlini's greed. This tragic chapter is a stark reminder of how much history and context was obliterated in the rush for glittering artifacts, leaving behind silent, decapitated sentinels whose full stories were blown into the desert wind. The silence of Corral was never truly silent. Within the sunken circular plazas, nestled between the massive earthen platforms, archaeologists made a discovery that gave this ancient city a voice. They unearthed a collection of musical instruments, exquisitely crafted from the bones of pelicans and condors. These were not crude noisemakers, but carefully tuned flutes and cornets, capable of producing complex melodies and haunting harmonies. The find was transformative. It suggested that ceremony at Corral was a multi-sensory experience, where the visual grandeur of the pyramids was accompanied by a sacred soundscape. Researchers began to study the architecture with new ears. They noted how the sunken circular plazas, with their curved adobe walls, might have functioned as natural amplifiers, focusing and projecting sound during rituals. The very layout of the city, with its open plazas and towering pyramids, could have been designed with acoustics in mind, ensuring that the music played for the gods and the community would resonate with perfect clarity. This was a civilization that understood the power of sound to unite, to inspire, and to commune with the spiritual world. But the most profound revelation at Corral is not found in what was present, but in what is utterly absent. After decades of excavation, archaeologists have found no trace of warfare. There are no defensive walls encircling the city, no stockpiles of spearheads or maces, no depictions of battle in their art, and no skeletal remains showing signs of violent trauma. In a world where we often equate the rise of civilization with the rise of conflict, Corral stands as a stunning counterpoint. It presents a model of a complex urban society that flourished for more than 1,000 years through cooperation, trade, and shared ritual, not coercion and conquest. Their power was not expressed through armies, but through the ability to organize labor for monumental construction, to manage sophisticated irrigation for cotton and food crops, and to maintain far-reaching trade networks that brought fish from the coast and exotic materials from the highlands. This peaceful foundation forces us to rethink a fundamental narrative. Perhaps in some places, the first impulse towards civilization was not fear, but a collective desire for stability, order, and a connection to the cosmos. The people of Corral chose to build pyramids, not fortresses. They invested their energy into flutes and plazas, not weapons and walls. This makes their achievement, already staggering in its scale, even more remarkable. Remember, this city was rising on the Peruvian coast around 2,600 years before the Common Era. That is contemporaneous with the earliest dynasties of Egypt, while the Great Pyramid of Giza was still a distant dream. Here, on opposite sides of the planet, two human cultures were independently mastering agriculture, astronomy, and monumental architecture. But while Egypt's story is one of god-kings and centralized power, Corral whispers a different possibility. It shows us that urban life, with all its complexity, could emerge from a social contract built on harmony. Why here? Why did this model blossom in such isolation along a remote desert river? The answer may lie in the very challenges of their environment. In a fragile landscape, survival demanded cooperation. Building and maintaining the irrigation canals that fed their fields required collective effort and social cohesion. The pyramids themselves may have been the glue that held it all together, not as symbols of a ruler's dominance, but as communal projects that reinforced shared identity and purpose, their construction synchronized with celestial cycles that promised order and renewal. Corral does not just predate other American civilizations, it presents an alternative origin story. One where the path to civilization was paved not with conquest, but with collective song and a shared gaze toward the heavens. That local name, Tlachihualtepetl, holds a story in itself. It translates to man-made mountain, a perfect description for a structure so vast it was mistaken for a natural part of the landscape. But how did this mountain come to be? Ancient legend provides a mythical origin. The story tells of a giant named Selhor, who survived a great flood that destroyed the world. Seeking to reach the heavens and never face such a catastrophe again, Zelhua began to build a colossal tower. He gathered clay and bricks, piling them higher and higher. The gods, angered by his audacity, threw fire from the sky, scattering the builders and halting the construction. The unfinished tower, according to the myth, became the Great Pyramid of Cholula. This tale of a giant's ambition and divine punishment is a powerful echo of similar flood and tower myths from across the ancient world, suggesting a shared human memory of both catastrophe and the drive to build something permanent against it. The physical reality of this man-made mountain is no less staggering than the legend. While its current height is about 66 meters, a fraction of the Great Pyramid of Giza's original stature, its footprint is where its true immensity lies. The base of the Great Pyramid of Cholula covers nearly 45 acres. To visualize that, imagine a structure whose foundation is larger than 9 modern city blocks. It is the largest pyramid base in the world, a colossal platform of earth and adobe that contains an estimated volume of over 4 million cubic meters. You cannot simply walk around a structure of this scale, you journey across it. And the most incredible way to understand its layered history is to step inside. In the early 20th century, archaeologists began excavating a network of tunnels through the pyramid's heart. Today, visitors can walk for over 8 kilometers through these dimly lit, cool passageways. This is not a walk through a solid monument, but a journey through time. The tunnel walls are a cross-section of history, revealing the distinct construction phases like the rings of a tree. You can see the different types of brickwork, plaster and paint used by the Olmecs, the Toltecs, and the Aztecs, each culture adding its own shell to the sacred core. It is a physical experience of the pyramid's true nature as a living, growing entity, a sacred site that was continuously rebuilt and revered for over 1,000 years. That reverence did not end with the arrival of the Spanish. In a profound act of spiritual conquest, the conquistadors chose not to destroy the pyramid. Instead, They built the Church of Our Lady of the Remedies directly on its flattened summit. This act created a powerful, visible symbol of a new faith literally standing upon the old. For the local people, it also allowed a form of continuity. They could still come to this sacred hill, this Tlaquehualtepetl, to worship, even if the deity had a different name. The church, with its white facade and domed towers, is now an iconic part of the landscape, a symbol of the complex, layered identity of Mexico itself. From the giant Selwa's mythical bricks to the Spanish chapel in the sky, this one site embodies the entire epic of human belief, ambition, and adaptation, all built upon a foundation so vast it had to be called a mountain. The sheer scale of the claim demands a closer look at what researchers believe lies beneath that Javanese hill. According to the controversial team, Gunung Padang is not one structure, but three distinct pyramids stacked in time. The first layer is what we see, the terraces and standing megaliths on the surface, which conventional archaeology dates to around 3,000 years before the Common Era. But beneath that, they claim, lies a second, far older construction. This middle layer consists of another arrangement of those distinctive columnar rocks, buried under several meters of soil, and carbon dating from material within it suggests an age of approximately 7,500 years before the Common Era. That alone would make it one of the oldest known megalithic sites on Earth. Yet the most astounding claim lies deeper still. Seismic imaging, they report, reveals a third and deepest layer, large hollow chambers or voids with walls of shaped andesite stone. Organic material recovered from cores drilled into this deepest layer yielded radiocarbon dates that pushed into the realm of the almost unimaginable, 20,000 years or more before the present. If these dates and interpretations are correct, the deepest heart of Gunung Padang was shaped by human hands during the peak of the last ice age, a time when glaciers covered much of Europe and North America, and humanity globally is believed to have been living in small, mobile, hunter-gatherer bands. This timeline does not just challenge the history of Indonesia, it threatens to upend the entire narrative of human cultural development. The resistance from the mainstream archaeological community has been swift and severe. Critics argue the evidence is profoundly flawed. They point out that the columnar andesite rock is a natural geological formation, and what the team interprets as arranged walls and rooms could easily be the result of natural fracturing, weathering, and soil movement over millennia. The carbon-dated material, they contend, likely comes from natural organic matter that seeped into cracks in the rock long after any hypothetical construction, not from human-made mortar. They emphasize that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and that proper, stratified excavation following established archaeological methods has not been conducted to verify these deep layers. The debate is a classic, often heated, clash between a team using novel geophysical techniques to make a revolutionary claim and a discipline built on meticulous, layer-by-layer excavation and contextual analysis. But let us sit with the implication for a moment, if only as a thought experiment. If a structure like Gunung Padang truly dates back 20,000 years, what does that mean? It suggests that at the end of the last glacial period, in a lush refuge like Sundaland, a human society achieved a level of social organization and technical skill we have never attributed to that era. They would have been capable of quarrying, shaping, and moving multi-ton stones and of coordinating labor on a massive scale to terraform an entire hill into a precise, layered monument. This single site would force a re-evaluation of human potential in deep prehistory. It would lend a new, startling credibility to global myths of lost civilizations and great floods. Stories that speak of a sophisticated world before our own, erased by rising seas at the end of the Ice Age. Whether Gunung Padang is a natural wonder misinterpreted or a genuine artifact of a forgotten age, its very controversy illuminates a thrilling frontier. It represents the edge of our knowledge, where technology allows us to ask questions we never could before, and where the answers, whatever they may be, promise to permanently reshape our understanding of the human journey. Light from the sky is rewriting the story of the ground beneath our feet. To understand the revolution in the Amazon, you need to picture a technology that acts like X-ray vision for an entire landscape. It is called light detection and ranging, or LiDAR. Here is how it works. A specially equipped aircraft flies over the dense rainforest canopy, sending down millions of laser pulses every second. These tiny beams of light pierce through gaps in the leaves and branches, hit the ground, and bounce back to a sensor. By measuring the time it takes for each pulse to return, a powerful computer can build an astonishingly precise, three-dimensional map of the Earth's surface, digitally stripping away every single tree, vine, and bush. What was once an impenetrable green curtain becomes an open book, and the story it tells is one of breathtaking human design. The Amazon floor we now see is not wild. It is a vast, engineered masterpiece of geometry. The LiDAR maps reveal straight causeways that run for miles without a single curve, perfect circles and squares of raised earth, and enormous, carefully shaped reservoirs. And everywhere there are the pyramids. Not of stone, but of earth. Massive, flat-topped platform mounds arranged as the central anchors of complex settlements. This is not the work of scattered tribes, but of sophisticated urban planners. A prime example is the discovery related to the Casarabe culture in the Llanos de Mojos region of Bolivia. The LiDAR images show two major sites, now called Cotoca and Landiva, that shatter old assumptions. Each is organized around a central ceremonial plaza dominated by those huge earthen pyramids, some over 60 feet tall, accessed by broad ramps. But the design expands outward with stunning intention. Encircling this urban core are multiple rings of defensive moats and earthen walls. Radiating from the center like spokes on a wheel are those long, straight causeways, connecting the main settlement to a constellation of smaller villages, secondary temples, and agricultural fields across an area of hundreds of square miles. This is a connected metropolis, a carefully planned network of communities living in harmony with a challenging environment. Scholars call this pattern garden urbanism. It is a model of sustainable city building crafted for the tropics. The Casarabe and other Amazonian societies were master hydraulic engineers. They lived in a seasonally flooded savanna, so they built those high pyramids and platforms to keep their homes and temples dry during the rains. They excavated complex canals and reservoirs to control water flow, using it for transportation, irrigation, and most impressively, for large-scale fish farming. They created rich, fertile soils known as terra preta, or dark earth, by mixing charcoal, pottery shards, and organic waste into the ground, transforming poor rainforest soil into enduringly productive farmland. This was not a civilization fighting against nature, it was one working intricately with it. They shaped the forest into a productive garden, cultivating groves of useful fruit and nut trees, and managing the landscape on a scale we are only beginning to comprehend. These garden cities flourished for centuries, supporting substantial populations long before European ships ever appeared on the horizon. The silent, green pyramids of the Amazon stand as the ultimate testament to a forgotten way of life, proving that some of humanity's greatest urban achievements were not carved from stone, but patiently grown from the living earth itself. Our journey across continents leaves us with a profound puzzle. How did cultures separated by oceans and millennia all arrive at this same breathtaking shape? One compelling theory suggests a single, forgotten source. This diffusionist idea proposes that the knowledge of pyramid building was carried around the world by ancient seafarers, perhaps from a lost civilization like Atlantis, or through sustained prehistoric contact between, say, Egypt and Mesoamerica. Proponents point to tantalizing, if controversial, clues. The shared emphasis on astronomical alignment, the uncanny similarity between the step pyramids of Mesopotamia and those in the Americas, and the persistent legends of bearded, godlike teachers arriving from across the sea in both Old and New World myths. Could a handful of intrepid voyagers have seeded this architectural idea across the globe, leaving a common blueprint for reaching the heavens? Yet the stronger and more widely accepted argument points to a different, even more fascinating truth: independent invention. The pyramid, in its purest form, is one of the simplest and most stable geometric structures humanity can build at a monumental scale. If your goal is to create an imposing, durable temple or tomb that draws the eye skyward, stacking layers in receding tiers is a logical, almost inevitable engineering solution. It is the architectural equivalent of a child building a tower of blocks. The form emerges naturally from the desire to build high with what you have. This practical explanation is powerfully reinforced when we look beyond the silhouette to the profound differences in purpose and belief. Consider the Egyptian pyramid at Giza. It was a sealed tomb, a machine for resurrection, designed to protect a single god-king's body and wealth for eternity. Its smooth, angled sides were meant to mimic the rays of the sun, a ramp for the pharaoh's soul to ascend. It was built from millions of cut stone blocks, intended to be complete and entered only by the dead. Now, place it beside the great temple pyramid of the Maya, like El Castillo at Chichen Itza. This was not a tomb, but a living, breathing stage for public ritual. Its steps were meant to be climbed by priests and pilgrims. It was a cosmic clock, its alignments marking the equinoxes for the entire community to witness. It was built in layers over centuries, each new shell encasing the sacred work of ancestors. Where the Egyptian pyramid turned inward, guarding a secret, the Mesoamerican pyramid turned outward, orchestrating a society's relationship with the gods and the seasons. The Nubian pyramids of Meroe, with their steep sides and offering chapels, served a different function again for a different line of kings and queens. The earthen platform mounds of the Amazon or Corral served as elevated foundations for villages and ceremonies in flood-prone regions. The shape may whisper a superficial similarity, but the soul of each structure shouts its unique cultural story. This points us toward the most beautiful conclusion. The global phenomenon of the pyramid is not evidence of a single shared teacher, but of a shared human instinct. Separated by continents, our ancestors alike gazed at the same sky, felt the same awe, and yearned to bridge the gap between earth and heaven. They used the materials at hand, stone in the desert, earth in the jungle, adobe in the valley, to solve the same spiritual and architectural challenge. The pyramid emerged not from a single point of origin, but from the convergent imagination of humanity itself. It is a powerful testament to our common drive to build meaning into our world, to reach for the divine and to leave a mark that says, "We were here and we aspired." In the end, the wonder is not that so many cultures built pyramids, but that the human spirit, in its search for the eternal, so often chose to build a mountain. From the lava-buried circles of Quiquilco to the stepped temples of Java, our journey reveals a stunning truth. The human impulse to build pyramids is not an Egyptian invention, but a universal thread woven deep into the tapestry of our ancient history. These 25 structures we have explored are far more than just piles of stone or earth. They are testaments to human ingenuity, to a shared faith that reached for the sky, and to a profound common desire to connect our earthly lives with the grand mysteries of the cosmos. Each one, from the colossal hidden giant of Cholula to the silent green tombs of China, tells a unique story of its people, their environment, and their gods. Yet together, they form a chorus, a global echo of the same fundamental ambition. They challenge our most basic assumptions about isolation and progress, proving that across continents and millennia, our ancestors were all asking the same questions and arriving at similar, breathtaking answers in stone. They remind us, with every buried layer and every aligned staircase, how much of our shared human story is still waiting patiently to be uncovered, hidden beneath jungle canopies, desert sands, and our own preconceptions. We have walked through tunnels inside living mountains, witnessed gods of light descend stone staircases, and heard the echoes of flutes played 5,000 years ago. So now we turn the question to you. Among these wonders, which pyramid captured your imagination the most? Was it the cosmic clock of Chichen Itza, the peaceful mystery of Corral, or the haunting, decapitated sentinels of Meru? Let us know in the comments below. And if you are hungry for more adventures into the world's greatest historical mysteries, be sure to subscribe. Our next journey into the forgotten past is already waiting.